everyone. I'm your host Shashi with you all on Global Women Dialogues Talk Show to create more voice for women and by women. And today's our guest, a which is very near to my heart. I have lots of beautiful memories about this place. I have lived there. I have spent my beautiful time over there by doing my work. The place is called Madison, Wisconsin, in USA. And our speaker is from that place, my very close friend. And we have spent a lot of moments and memories by being there. And she is still there. She has her work and she is joining us from Madison, Wisconsin. Laura, she's the president of the creative company, as well as she's the author of 180 in 120. As you can hear, this title is very interesting. So be ready. We will ask her about her book as well. What is special in it for us as well? She has got lots of award recognition for her company, for her work. And as well as she's ahead in some sort of way for creating something new for people by through her work, through her passion, which is she's delivering in the way of the creative company. So let's join our hands together and welcome our today's speaker, Laura from Madison, Wisconsin. Welcome, Laura, on our Global Women Dialogue Talk Show.
Hi, Shashi. It's nice to be here.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks a lot. And I'm really today a little emotional because when seeing you, and it's something like I'm bringing all my moments, my memories by spending time with you, spending time in Madison. So let's just start talking about, because many of our audience and listeners, they don't know the place where you live, how you grew, what kind of upbringing you had, what kind of challenges you had in your life, and all the way while talking about it, how all these kind of experiences, lot of ups and downs, how they help you, how they shaped you as the way you are today. So please share with us.
So yes, it was, we did meet in Madison, Wisconsin. I fell in love with Madison when I was a little girl, and I always knew that I'd live here. For those who don't know, it was probably much of your audience, since you have a global network, Madison is on an island, more or less. We're surrounded by 3 different bodies of water, Lake Mendota, Lake Wabisa, and Lake Monona, on an isthmus. And so where Shashi and I met was really on an island in the Midwest in the USA. And all these wonderful things happen here in Madison, Wisconsin. I think it's a very creative community. Actually, I know it is. And it's one of the reasons why many people are flocking to the Midwest, even from the coast here in the USA. It's because it's such an incredible place to live, because you can play, you can work, you can create, you can have a rich and interesting community, a global community because of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. I love being here. And so I knew that I'd live here. My business is just 6 blocks from the state capitol, which is where our government happens here in Wisconsin. And so being 6 blocks away from all that activity is really incredible. And of course, we're right by, the creative company is right by the University of Wisconsin-Madison too. And all of that encompasses with research and activity and students and learning, which is a really important part of my story, actually. So from the time I was a little girl, I loved books and I loved learning. I spent a lot of time at the library, getting books, taking home books, not returning books on time, those kinds of things, because I love to read and I love to be surrounded by books. And so I was a writer and a learner from the time I was pretty young. And then I went to college and started my company. So I've been in business now for over 33 years. Now, what's important to know is that I started my company in 1989 when I was 21 years old. It wasn't until 1988 that a woman could legally get a business loan without a man's signature. So they were getting them, but it took a man's signature to get one. And that wasn't that long ago. I mean, in my lifetime, in Shashi's lifetime, we have a lot of doors have opened up for us. With that, there's still more work to do, but we are continuing to break through various glass ceilings. And so recently I was a competitor in the Wisconsin Technology Council's State of Wisconsin Governor's Business Plan competition. And that was something that I never really saw myself doing. I had been a judge and I had been a sponsor, but I'd never thought of myself as being a contestant in a tech conference. And during the pandemic, I started thinking about this publishing company that I started, and I thought, you know, I'm not really doing, it's just an idea right now, which is the other thing I'd recommend for your audience to do, just like you've done, Shashi. You just move into it. You don't need to, you just start with a corner, you begin, you take the first step. You don't have to know the whole thing. A lot of women won't move, a lot of people won't move unless they have it all figured out, and you have to take that first step. So I went ahead and applied, and you actually go through 5 rounds of competition before the end of the competition. So at each stage, there are fewer and fewer competitors, and I made it to the top 3 in the service category for the Governor's Business Plan competition. Now, the table stakes were pretty large. There were $250,000 in prizes for the grand, prize winner, and available to all of us, really, bits and pieces of that. So like we could win free legal services or office space, those sorts of things, depending upon where we, if we made it to that the final 23 actually, and I made it to the final, they call them the diligent dozen. So I made it to the final 12, and I got to pitch in front of investors and things like that. Yeah. But this is like risky stuff, right? It's not your, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's not, it takes guts. You kind of believe
it takes a lot of courage and lots of, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then you just try. I mean, and that's where the fun is. It's exciting, and it's also terrifying. Like, it's scary. It's not at every stage I'm thinking, even though I'm confident, even though I've been in business a long time, at every stage I'm like, oh my gosh, I made it through it again. Oh, I didn't know if I was going to get through. And then when I made it to the final 12, I thought, oh my word, I had no idea I was going to make it this far. And it doesn't happen. It's not like life just opens up and you have time to do these things. You have to just do it in the midst of all the other things that you're doing, being a mom, a wife, running a company, whatever your story is. You probably have multiple plates going, and you got to get it in there, even if you don't do it perfectly, because otherwise it won't happen, and life will slip by.
That's so true. That's so true. So first of all, congratulations. You have gone so far from starting from there to that far. And I wish you continue doing so, and all the very best for future. Talking about your experiences, talking about your journey, as you shared that as a 21-year-old girl, when she started her business, and you need to go through this signing process, and you need to have as a male, someone who is along with you for applying loan. How you find when you started looking for these kind of work, and currently if somebody is looking for some establishment as a woman, if they are starting to company or something, do you find those changes have gone so far? And if they have gone so far, what still are the struggles they are having, those we have to win or we have to talk about?
So I had friends who had parents who were like, one was a lawyer. I found an accountant. A lot of things I read in books. So I actually, at age 21, went to the Madison Public Library and got 21 books on how to start your own business. And then I just dove into them. Now we have the internet where we can Google, we can watch classes online. I mean, the learning is available to us, at a click away. And then a lot of things are open source now. So you can set up your corporation, or I don't know what it's like in other countries, but here in the United States, you can set it up online very easily. It's not that you shouldn't get legal counsel along the way. You absolutely should, depending upon what it is that you're creating, but we can start an LLC in a weekend here in Wisconsin. It's that easy. It wasn't in 1989. I did hire an attorney. I set up a corporation, and we were off and running. And then I got a small bank loan. I started out with a $2,500 bank loan, and then I got a $4,000 bank loan. I will say this, that most women, when they start companies, are undercapitalized. And that is why here in the US, 90% of women-owned businesses only employ themselves and one other. And male-owned businesses, 83% only employ themselves and one other. So they create these giant jobs for themselves without health insurance benefit or any of other benefits or vacation time, right? If you've only got yourself and maybe one other. What I really have been challenged by since I moved into my late 40s and early 50s is creating an idea that will scale. And I wish I had thought about that a lot more when I was younger, because I was just focused on this one entity, this one small entity that was which requires a lot of labor and a lot of, you know, service, instead of thinking of something that would be easily multiplied. So when I look at the other company I started and competed with for the governor's business plan competition, Mathatria Press is an online e-learning company, and you can find it at mathatriapress.com. Right now we haven't launched, but you can sign up so that when we're ready to launch, you're in the know. That starts on October 16th of this year. That's when we'll actually launch. But even right now, you can sign up for information. But the point is, I wanted to be able to, you know, create recurring revenue without having to go out and earn it all the time. So we do that to some extent at Creative Company, where we do advertising and marketing and public relations, and companies are on retainer. So there is recurring revenue. But somebody has to put in the labor for that every single time. With a membership fee, it's scalable, right? It's something that can grow and create revenue without you necessarily, you're gonna have to create great content, but it's different, it's multiplied. Instead, it's just like, it's like this show, Shashi. You and I could sit down and have a conversation one-on-one, or we can share this with women in 62 countries, right? It's multiplied. And in multiplying these ideas, we can change the world.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. That seems very fantastic and very innovative, the things you are thinking of, you are looking for. And again, I wish all our listeners and audience check it out, which Laura is saying, and we will put those details as well as a description to give you all the links as well to check those work. So Laura, let's move ahead about your...
There's some noise outside, Shashi, so I'm just gonna shut this.
Okay, so
there we go.
Yeah, I was just talking about, when we are talking about on a platform like Women Dialogue, which is Global Women Dialogue platform, and I am aware you do a lot of work for women. You are part of a lot of women related work and organization and club. Tell about what is the passion and how you feel each time when you are connecting or you're doing something there. Is something give you feeling like, okay, yes, this is something is lacking and this is something I'm putting in that?
Yeah, I mean, so a few years ago, I was an ambassador for Wisconsin and for North America for the Women's Entrepreneurship Day movement. And that's when you and I first met. It was a really intense and busy time. We produced two day-long conferences for women and here in Wisconsin to start your own company. But it was really, or to grow a company, to think about things like scaling a company, to create more wealth for yourself. And I don't mean like, when I say wealth, I mean, wealth is such a tricky word. It's just that one of the things that we do at Creative Company is that we help women we help people in general who have, and oftentimes that's tied to economics. You know, if you don't have enough food to eat, if you don't have enough resources, your family's going to be stressed. And if your family's stressed, then you're not going to thrive. You know, so how do we create the economic stability for people to prosper, for people to thrive? That's the core. That's at the core of what I do. So, and give them a reason to get up in the morning, a purpose, right? I mean, and we do here in the United States anyway. We live during a unique time where we can start and grow things. So, but it doesn't mean that everyone does or everyone should. It's just kind of how do we connect those ideas? How do we connect those ideas and empower women? Because one of the things I learned from doing the conference is that we're all insecure. We all have fears, and we all have things that have happened that have taught us that maybe we shouldn't dare again. And as a result of that, we don't. But you know what? Today is a new day. So we don't have to stay back there. Leave that stuff behind, you know, and just try, because the really, like, the world isn't going to give us permission. It's not like we have to raise our hand anymore in class for someone and wait for the teacher to call on us. It's up to us.
Right.
Just go forward and, you know, do the thing that you want to do. And the world will make a way for you.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think it's very important to know, especially if our women, audience and listener, they're listening, it's all up to you. You no need to wait for someone to pick you or someone to, you no need to ask someone. The world is open, as Laura's mentioned, that you can do what you want to do. And they are a click away, all the information is as well. And here, when we are talking with Laura, we will talk more about with Laura about her company, how, what kind of, as a woman, the challenges you had during the working environment. Your company was a first company, if I mention the creative company which you bring, how you find what kind of challenges you had, and as a woman, what kind of things one has to be prepared in ahead in their mind, not in technicality, but in their mind to continue the momentum.
Yeah, it's, so there's this word grit that is, you know, grit, meaning you stay in there even when it's hard. And I think that tenacity, that perseverance is so important, regardless of what it is that you're doing. I mean, I think whether you're a parent or you're working at a job or you're in the medical field, I mean, there are days where we all want to quit. And it's that staying with it that really nets you the return on your investment in your life. You know, you've got to stay in there. I'm not really sure how to, can you rephrase that question again in another way?
Okay, I'll ask you. So let's just take at your own personal level. And when you was doing this business, you started business at very early age, where a lot of barriers were there at the edge and each steps, and then doing your own business as an independent girl. I believe there were a lot of many other hurdles. A part of legalities, their work culture, there's a work related hurdles as well. So what kind of hurdles you had and what kind of mindset you had to overcome those? We say grit, we say resistance, we say perseverance, but we all know these. But what kind of mindset you had to have those thinking that yes, I can do that, and keep going?
Well, I'll go back to books again, because it's been, you know, different teachers that I've met along the way through the books that I've read, and or podcasts I listen to now, those sorts of things that have contributed to, like, that's my go-to. The teachers aren't, I think that there's this idea that you're going to have this coach or this mentor, this person who's going to, this guide throughout your life or throughout your career path. That isn't, I've not experienced that. I've had different people come into my life who I've certainly learned from, who've poured into me, but they don't stay. You know, they come in for a season and then they leave, and they come in for a season and then they leave. So you've got to also you've got to find it within yourself to be a seeker of knowledge and your own personal growth. You're responsible for you. The barriers will be there. And it's interesting how now the culture here in the US anyway has changed so that you can say you're a certified woman-owned business by the state of Wisconsin, and that might actually give you a little bit more clout. But I was doing this when, you know, and I don't know that I should be careful here, but, you know, having like, well, okay, here's one example. When my counterparts in the business that I'm in marketing and branding and things, were out on a golf course, I was nursing my babies. That gave them a competitive advantage. You know, if you have whatever, say a minimum of 5 years where you're pregnant and nursing kids, because I had 2 kids and I was either pregnant or nursing a baby for about 5 years, right? And you know, with a break in between there, but during those 5 years, some of the guys that I would be competing against were creating their own, networks and things like that, that they were able to then carry forward and do business with as the years went on. And even though I was working during those years, I still, you lose something, I think that's just, one of the challenges of being uniquely, a woman in business or in whatever career field you chose. You cannot do it all and at the same time at the level that you might want to. So that was frustrating for me, and it did hold me back. I think there are definite barriers, or there's a perception maybe that because you have small children at home that you aren't going to be able to perform the same way, so you're not giving the same opportunities. You're kind of always having to show up like you've got this covered, even on days where you're really tired. And my children are now 19 and 21, so I'm in a really different space. They're both in college, they're both doing great. But it's, and so now I really can focus on my business a lot, and I'm creating new things. I'm having a blast doing that, but I also love being a mom. I love being a mom even now. I'm just saying it was really a lot more intense, obviously, when they're growing up.
Yeah. No, we totally agree, and we can understand, because as being on Women Dialogue, I believe all of our women, they can relate their life, and they can understand what it means to be when you are developing, creating something, and same time, all these life journey, being, studying, getting married, having children, growing up their children, and same time, all those, you're developing your business, career, profession, they can relate themselves. So yes, it totally makes sense. So Laura, when we are talking about all those challenges and same time developing your work, your business, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of, your as a positive energy. But as sometimes some moment comes in each of our life, we feel dull. We feel to give up. What keeps you on intact? What was the point? What was the, maybe your faith, maybe your some of your very strong, your from your parents, like what was something in your life which was holding you, that Laura, no, you need to go, you need to keep going. And why it's important to share, because we want to create that understanding in our audience, that find that strong point in your own life, so they can also relate that that's something they can hold, and then they can keep moving forward.
Yeah. So I asked Jesus into my heart when I was 19 years old, and my faith is a cornerstone of what I do, or who I am. I guess maybe that's a better way to say it, who I am. And there are times when after you were with me when my mom passed away, and my mom was my best friend. She was certainly an anchor in the storm. She didn't know all the things that I was up against her, but she was my sounding board. She was my best friend. And so it was such a great loss to lose her, but it was during those days too, though, that things were very slow at Creative Company, because I just produced the conference. Then my mom got really sick, and then she passed away. And I had two people who had left during that season that I had not replaced. And if my mom hadn't been sick, I could have gotten, I would have made new hires. But because of that, I couldn't. I had to be with my mom. And so the Lord brought those two people right to me. I didn't have the bandwidth to go seek them out, right? And so they landed with me, thank goodness. And there are times where if it's going to be, it's going to be because of God, not because of you, or not because of, I didn't have the strength. Even with Mathatria Press, I didn't have the strength. There are times now where I really see him leading and me hanging on or God leading and me hanging on, whatever gender you want to attach to that, instead of me striving so much. I spent a lot of time striving. And now in this season, I feel more like, there are times where I'm just tired. I'm 53. I need him to lead me. And he leads me to miraculous and amazing places. So, I'm in the Word. I'm doing a Bible study right now at Blackhawk Church, actually, where we're just trying to figure out, how to really study the Bible. And that kind of learning has absolutely changed my life. It changed how I lead. It changes how I treat others. And it gives me it also creates this I don't know how to even explain it, but you know, God takes care of us. So he always provides. It's how when I don't have enough, I know that he'll come in and provide it, you know. I just have to be I need to continue to, you know, just trust him and be a good steward of my resources. And then if things change, they change. It's not going to be easy. None of this is easy. It's always challenging. But, you know, I mean, there's fun days too, but it's also hard. And I don't know. My faith is certainly something that keeps me strong.
Yeah. And so when we are talking about faith, and that keeps you strong, but at the same time, I would like to bring some, this global pandemic issue, which currently we all are facing. And a lot of people are stressed because of job loss, because of their business they don't have business, or a lot of many other issues. What kind of, message would you like to give them, how they can continue having that positivity, or that whatever they want to follow, whatever they understand, whatever they do, how they can come out through this phase of where we are all are experiencing this global recession sort of?
There are many things that we can't control, and certainly the last year and a half has been sort of epic in terms of the things that we can't control, and we're still, I mean, we never are in control, but it just feels like this was big for all of us. I'm not really sure I mean, the fact of the matter is that there's a certain amount of surrender. You're going to show up every day and you're going to do your best, and that's all you can do. So during difficult times throughout my career, so went through 2 recessions, a pandemic, 9/11, all kinds of things in my 33 years in business. Right. What I focus on is what I can do, not what's in the way. So no, I can't meet with a client in person, but I can, or what can I give? Maybe that's the thing. Like there's something about that. There's this Dr. Robert Cialdini, who's a sales guy and wrote a number of best-selling books on understanding people and their behaviors and things. But there's something called the law of reciprocity. So giving first, and so our first move during the pandemic was to give away services in the form of training on crisis communications. How can we show others how to walk through this, because so many things were changing so quickly. So if your business has to be closed down, if an employee gets COVID, how do you communicate these things and keep the public informed and keep them feeling safe? So we did free online training, and we partnered with 2 other organizations to provide that. So even though the resources weren't necessarily there, we stepped up and did it anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So here, Laura is talking about, it is a time when you can reconnect with your people, with your community, because during recession time, as per Laura experiences, and we all are experiencing in current scenario as well, that if you have recession, it doesn't mean to just sit back and feel yourself having guilty, having a stress about it, but just whatever way best you can give away, maybe a service, maybe a training, or maybe food kit, whatever way you can create that community feeling, right? That's what and if we are talking about this beautiful way, here you got about the author, and it remind me you are author of yourself, a very famous book which we were talking about. Would you like to bring about your book as well?
Oh gosh, this was an interesting thing actually. So here's the book. It's called 180-120: How to Recharge Your Business in 120 Days. It's in color or in black and white, and you can find it on Amazon. What's funny about this, you guys, is that women of the world, let me tell you, this was my accidental authored book. I did not intend to write this book. I wrote a bunch of blog posts over a summer, and at the end of it, I realized, oh, I've got 100 pages plus. So I could probably make a little book. And if I was going to make a little book, I wanted to include, I wanted to have fun with it, quite frankly. So there's colored pictures, and there's a chapter about how I lost $1 million in here, because that happens. And And why I want
Once
to
you
get
are into business, you need to be ready for all these ups and downs.
all the things, and there's a chapter in about why I want to be a cowboy and, just all these fun things. So it's a really fun and inspiring book for anyone. And then I was just recently asked to contribute a chapter of this book called Making a Difference.
Wow, making a difference.
Yeah, and it's this was I've got a chapter in here called that I wrote, but there's a whole bunch of other wonderful authors, including Jerry Jenkins, who wrote the Left Behind series, and my chapter is on how to use social media to become a change agent, which is what you're doing, Shashi, and just having that positive voice. And that chapter is actually available. I can send you the link, Shashi, so you can put it with the podcast for free. So you can just download it for free. I'll give you that link. And if someone does want to buy the book, we are donating $5 per book to Logan's Hearts and Smiles, which helps children with disabilities to be able to live in their homes. So stay in their homes, because sometimes it's an accessibility issue. So yeah,
those are definitely, those are wonderful cause you are taking for community service, and definitely we'll put the links in the description as well, so people can have this free resource along with the maybe giveaway, as well as that maybe buying a book, and that goes to the cause, as you said, Logan, for the disabled children, right? So we'll put all these details. So Laura, last but not least, what one message would you like to give to our audience who are listening and watching us today?
Ladies, you can do this. Whatever it is that the Lord has put in your heart, or that you feel the desire to go do, just do it. Try. Just try. Start with a small piece and then build on it. You're capable and smart, and the knowledge and the resources are there. And there's something about when you start to build the bridge as you're walking on it, the right people will come alongside you and meet you there. You won't have to do it alone. And you shouldn't do it alone. I think that's the other part, is that we're meant to do things in community. And that community at this point in time in our life can be global. Like Dr. Shashi and myself working, together on this, and just talking with you on this podcast. You are not alone, and you are meant to be in community. So make sure that you don't have to pave the trail by yourself. Bring others along with you, and then you're all on the journey together, and it's a big adventure. It's so fun.
Wonderful, wonderful. So all our audience, as I believe you will take the same message, just try it. You are not alone. Just try, and you will find the right people in all the way during your trying and in your path of growing and developing yourself. And the last thing, how you find having platform like Women Dialogues is so important and needed, or is contributing something for the global community.
Yes, absolutely. Hearing other women's stories is empowering, and it's really important. That is my mission to bring women's stories to life through Mathatria Press. And we have to share our stories. It's how we'll move our ideas forward and make the world a better place. Women, when given the opportunity, will pour much more of their resources into their families and their communities than what a man will do, according to research that's put out by the United Nations. So, we are meant to do this. We are meant to be more. So lean into it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Laura, for sharing your work experiences, sharing your knowledge and wisdom over more than 33 years you have gained and you have added in your life, and you just shared with our audience today to get empowered, to them inspired and get motivated. So thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Dr. Shashi.
And thanks to all our audience and listeners who are listening and watching us. As I always believe and always I say, we are here to develop and grow together. You are not alone here. And that's the reason we always bring someone special in their field. Like today, Laura has joined from her experience of 33 years experience in business of printing, publishing, and creative company of PR and marketing. You hear from her experiences. You can find your inspiration, motivation from her experiences. And even more than that, if you're lacking in any point or you feel we have not covered, we are putting link in the description. So get connect with Laura if you are finding any way, any kind of point which we missed. And along with that, you can put in the question or comments as well. We are taking questions and we would like to cover those questions in our upcoming sessions. With this hope that you will take in a positive way, inspire and get motivated and grow yourself. We will see you next time with new episode with new speaker. Take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.